Best Art Direction.
Rayman Origins is a beautiful game, and it doesn't win my Best Art Direction award for 2011 just because it's all hand-drawn so well. The way the music and the animation flow seamlessly together gives it this charm that no other game had this year. I love the way that the ukulele, didgeridoo, and jaw harp made me chuckle every time I booted the game up. If you haven't checked out Rayman, you have to, because behind all of this art is an amazing platformer that you have to play.
Biggest disappointment.
I'll admit that I had high hopes for Catherine. When I found out that Atlus was trying to do something different with their next game, I was really hopeful that Catherine was going to be something amazing. Now, I know the story is something that you can definitely write home about, but the block puzzles and the repetitive mechanics just didn't do it for me. So unfortunately, it doesn't really hold up to any other game I played this year or any game that I was excited for. Sorry, Catherine, but unfortunately, you're the Atlus black sheep in this case.
Surprise of the year.
Let's face it, ever since WCW versus NWO on the Nintendo 64, wrestling games have been kind of shit. Now, when I saw WWE All-Stars, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so surprising to see the detail and the nostalgia and just the over-the-top moves come together so well. It was like playing NBA Jam in a wrestling ring, and I was so happy to be able to play as many of my old favorites as Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, and my local hero, Bret Hart. And they did an awesome job of implementing the new wrestlers for people that, didn't grow up with wrestling or have just gotten into wrestling. But WWE All-Stars was a huge surprise for me and made it as the #1 surprise of the year.
Best story.
When it comes to telling a story in the game, you can take your Skyrims or your Deus Exes and sure, they can tell a story. But for best story this year, I could not give this award to anyone else but Mortal Kombat. No other fighting game has ever done a story so well, making the single player, something awesome in a fighting game for once. The seamless transitions between story and dialogue between the characters right into the fights, as ridiculous as they are, was some of the best I've seen in, I guess ever in a fighting game. And I just have to give Mortal Kombat points for being able to do this within their own genre and doing it well, being able to pull it off. So, best story goes to Mortal Kombat.
Best New Character.
When it came to selecting the best new character for 2011, it was a tough decision because there's a lot of talent, but it came down to the one that was written the best and worked well within their environment. And I find that Wheatley from Portal 2 takes the cake. Voiced by Stephen Merchant, did an amazing job in this role and really brought the character to life and pulled it off better than anyone else could. I find that the jokes and the writing and being able to juxtapose such a great character as GLaDOS, that's a tough feat. So that's why he gets my character of the year.
Best new IP.
Shadows of the Damned is a crazy game, and this is why I love it. It's by no means a perfect experience, but I love that it's just so bananas, and the character interactions between Garcia fucking Hotspur and Johnson are some of the best I've seen all year. It's a competent third-person shooter. I love the winks and nods to other things like Ghostbusters and Evil Dead, and it really just sells on itself on the fact that you're in a demon world and all this crazy shit is happening, and they make it seem completely normal. Anyways, Shadows of the Damned, best new IP of the year.
Ooh, the best remake. Dig it?
I've been playing the You Don't Know Jack games since I was a kid, and when I found out that there was going to be a remake this year, I was elated. The jokes, the questions, Cookie Masterson, and all the screwing is all in there, that this game feels like it was made 10 years ago. I love that this brings me back to You Don't Know Jack 1, and the ability to play with your best friends either offline or online makes this the complete quizzical experience. You don't know Jack? For Best Remake of the Year.
Best downloadable title.
The downloadable titles for 2011 were really strong, but the one game that stuck with me was Bastion. The narrator, the art, the music, it was all breathtaking, and backed up by tight controls, amazing game mechanics, and combat. I was in love with this game from day one. I can't say enough good things about Bastion, but it really goes to show that you don't need a multi-million-dollar budget to make an amazing masterpiece.
Number 3, Game of the Year.
My number 3 game for 2011 is DARKSPORE. Now I know you're all thinking that it's just Spore and Diablo mashed together, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm really glad they stuck with the Spore creature creator, because I had a lot of fun tinkering with my creatures and really building a team that felt like my own. And we all know how addictive the dungeon crawling aspects of it was, and it was great to team up with 4 other friends to go through and just kill a bunch of stuff and save the galaxy. I really love DARKSPORE because you can customize your team and make it completely different, and you're really getting a great, loot fest with a bunch of buddies, and that makes it my number 3 game this year.
Number 2, Game of the Year!
My second favorite game of 2011 is Gears of War 3. Now this is the complete package. You have the single player campaign that Epic, isn't afraid to finish and close out, even with some questions unanswered. You have the Horde mode coupled with the Beast mode, and this just is hours of complete and utter fun with your buddies. And then you have the endless multiplayer where you can snipe some people or just call down a reign of terror with the Hammer of Dawn. It really is a value package when you lump in the DLC that they're bringing in on the Horde mode and the campaigns, and I just love the visceral nature of Gears of War. I know we all hate that word, but it really makes you feel like you're taking a chunk out of a locust when you shoot at it. Anyways, Gears of War 3, my number 2 game for 2011.
This is the Game of the Year. Number 1.
My favorite game of 2011 is Dark Souls. Now this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, since I've sunk over 150 hours into it, and I can't stop talking about it online. Now, it's not without its share of frustrations, and over the course of many deaths, I've come to love Dark Souls for what it is. Be it the compelling story, the unique multiplayer, and just the crazy combat, Dark Souls is definitely something that makes me come back for more. Now, I know it's not for everybody, but Dark Souls is one of the most rewarding games, and when you overcome those challenges, whether it's a boss or a really tough spot, no game rewards you better than Dark Souls, and that's why I love it. Now, it's even better when you can play with your buddies and start invading and defending your realms from other people online. It's really one of a kind and is, in my opinion, does a lot more than Demon Souls. Now, Dark Souls is a tough game, and I don't recommend playing it if you don't have the patience for it, but that's why I love it. It's unique, and it's my number 1 game of 2011.